Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. I know if you watched my last video that I uploaded last night, you would be expecting that I said I wasn't going to do a video today. And I didn't think I was going to do one today, because I was very busy. I had a meeting, I had to go to a grand opening of a youth thingy that I was invited to. I had family over, and yet I still got time. So I'm going to do a video. That's how it goes. This is a Mr. Ballen one. And this is the literal worst day ever. And we will get right into this. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment what you think down below. Let's go.
Today's video is brought to you by SimpliSafe. Today, we're going to look at 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I will share the photo or photos that are famously associated with them.
Okay.
But before we get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload 1 or 2 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please offer to give the like button a massage, but apply too little pressure so the experience is unsatisfactory. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories.
Why does my brain work like this? I saw that and just started laughing. Why? Why did I start laughing? Oh, my brain is not in the right place. I apologize.
On August 15th, 2003, 41-year-old veteran construction worker Ron Hunt was part of a crew that was building a house in Reno, Nevada. On that particular day, Ron knew before he could do anything else on the job site, the first thing he needed to do was drill a couple of large holes in the ceiling of one of the rooms in this house. And so as soon as he got to the job site that morning, he went in the back of his truck and pulled out a 6-foot-tall stepladder and a drill, and then walked into that particular room. Once inside, he opened up a stepladder and placed it where he wanted it, and then he tested his drill by squeezing the trigger a couple of times. And so once he knew that worked, he climbed up the ladder a couple of steps, not to the very top, but just a couple of steps, and began punching holes in the ceiling with this drill. Now, at first, these holes were very easy to punch through, but when he got down and moved the ladder to another section of this room where he also needed holes in the ceiling, when he got up there, he could not get the drill to go through the ceiling. And he didn't really get it because he knew there was nothing behind the ceiling that would stop the drill from going through, and it was just wood, so it really should be going through. And so he decided
You can have some wood difficulty. There's times even on the leg, and I try to put tacks that it'll work go in some ways, and I go into others. It's just a weird thing. It doesn't make no sense. It's just the way it goes. Very bizarre.
just needed a little bit of extra leverage. He needed to really press on the back of this drill while he's pulling the trigger. And so instead of standing on the second or third rung of the 6-foot-tall stepladder, he walked to the very top of the ladder.
Oh, well, this is just a stupid idea. This is a stupid thought button. You should never do that. That's you have no balance. You have nothing to keep you supported there. That's a terrible idea. Why did he think this was a good idea? Why?
Kind of dangerous section you're not supposed to stand on any ladder. And from there, he was in a better position to really push this drill into the ceiling. And so he gets in position and kind of feels like the ladder's fairly stable. And then he lines up this drill where he wants it. He begins squeezing the trigger, and at the same time, he really pushes with all that extra leverage into the ceiling. And as he does that, he feels the drill starting to go into the wood. But at the same time, he's pushing so hard that he's not realizing he's pushing down with his feet at a bit of an angle. And at some point, he pushes too hard, and he causes the ladder to spill out from underneath him. Ron instinctively tried to throw the drill away from him, which is a common practice amongst construction workers. You don't want to land on your gear, it could hurt you. But he wasn't able to throw the drill far enough away from him. And even worse, the drill, when it hit the ground, basically right underneath him, it landed on its back with the drill bit pointing straight up into the air. And so when he fell down face first, his right eye socket landed directly on the drill.
Oh! 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 Oh, he dead. He dead. It was 18 inches too, it said. He dead. Oh, he dead. Oh, he nasty dead. Oh.
And so this 18-inch long, 1.5-inch in diameter drill bit impales his head, goes right through his eyeball, goes through his skull, and punctures out the back of his head.
Oh my God. My brain can vision this, and it is like, oh, Jesus Christ, that is insane. 18-inch blade. What? Oh my God, he gotta be dead. He's gotta be dead.
And so Ron, he hits the ground, but he's conscious.
No, he isn't. No, he's not. He's conscious while this happened. He's aware of himself. He's in his surroundings. He knows what's going on. Oh my God. Oh, and he's alone at this moment, I think. So what the hell does he do? Oh my God. Oh my God.
And so without even rolling over, he just reaches up with his hands and he feels the base of this drill, and then he traces to the drill bit and he feels it going into his eye, and then he feels around the back of his head and he feels the rest of the drill coming out of his skull. And at that point, he just starts screaming. The only other worker...
Yep, that'll be my reaction. I realize it. I'd start screaming so loudly. Oh my God, the whole world would hear me. Oh my God. This poor damn man. Oh. This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare for this man. This is the worst day ever.
Worker on the job site at the time was this man named Forrest, and Forrest, who was in a separate part of the job site, he hears Ron screaming, and so he runs over, he goes in the room, and he sees Ron, who's now standing up, cradling the drill base. The bit, the 18-inch bit, is still poking through his head, and so Ron is looking at Forrest and then turns to the side to show him that he's been fully impaled by this thing, and Forrest is totally horrified at what he's seeing. He can't believe Ron is even alive. But then Forrest jumps into action. He rips his shirt off, runs over to Ron, and kind of wraps it around his head to try to control the bleeding a little bit. And then he tells Ron to stay where he is. And then Forrest ran out of the job site, ran about 1,000 feet away to the nearest house. And he was able to use their phone to call paramedics. I
don't know when this happened, because I guess they didn't have cell phones, or they're not allowed to have cell phones on the job site. But it's insane. Like, that is scary as hell. Imagine stumbling. Imagine you're the other guy on the job site and that's what you see. Oh, I'd be so terrified. I wouldn't know what to do. Imagine even explaining this to the fucking 911 operator. Hey, what's your problem? Oh, yeah, sorry. My partner here, my construction partner, he fell off a ladder and went drill. His drill fell on the floor and his eye went through it, and now he's got the drill bit throughout and it's in the back of his head. I wouldn't know how to describe it, but it's just actually what a drill. I can't explain it. You gotta see this for yourself.
Paramedics arrive in an ambulance a few minutes later, and they find Ron sitting next to Forrest, just with this drill still in his face. Ron is very obviously in shock because he's not making any sound. He's totally conscious, but he's just kind of staring blankly, holding on to this thing. And so the paramedics, they go over and they detach the drill base from the drill bit. So all that's left is the actual 18-inch rod that's been pushed through his head. And then they take Ron via ambulance to a local hospital, and from there, they actually fly him in a helicopter to a bigger hospital.
Oh, so you gotta go to a big hospital for that one. Those little hospitals aren't gonna know what to do with this guy. They're gonna have no fucking clue. It is a big time situation
that can handle this kind of injury. And so when he arrives at this larger hospital,
I bet you the larger hospital didn't know what to do at first. They're probably just like, what happened with this guy? He got a drill in his eye. He needs to get that. How do you? Huh? My brain wouldn't be able to fathom it. My brain would be trying to figure out how this could possibly have happened. Because my brain would not be able to figure it out.
They rush him immediately to the operating room, and at first, the surgeons attempted to cut off either end of this bit, the part that's sticking out the front of his eye and the part that's sticking out the back of his head. But they realized once they did that, there would still be this huge piece of bit that was stuck in his skull, and that would obviously be a huge problem. And so after thinking about it, they decided their best bet was just to unscrew the bit from his head.
Oh my god, that had to have taken a while to do. That would have had to be so something, because if you could, I'm trying not to swear, but I can't with some of these stories. You would have to do it while, like, twist it out of his head, without hoping you damage his brain or anything in any sort of way. Oh my god.
And so they gave him some morphine, and then over the next couple of hours, the doctors slowly twisted this piece of metal until it finally unwound itself out of his skull. And apparently, as they were doing that, Ron, who was so high on painkillers, was cracking jokes about how somebody needs to come in here and take a picture of me. I probably look so great. And so...
Why is he even conscious? Why is he conscious while they're unscrewing it? This seems like something you should be unconscious for. And I know maybe it'd probably be hard to do because it would take a while. But, like, it does seem like something he should be conscious for. Am I weird for thinking that he should not have been even... It's okay if he's on painkillers, he should not be conscious enough to do this.
Miraculously, Ron would survive.
Oh, don't tell me that's the drill. Okay, he's holding the similar drill. That can't... No, this can't be a size of this drill. No, how is he not dead? He should be dead. No, I don't wanna... No. Oh my god, this story is terrifying. Ron, you are a superhuman. I'm telling you, my friend. Y'all are probably as fathom with this as I am. Y'all in disbelief as I am. Holy crap. If you told me this story, I'll tell you, you'll lie about the part he lived. This guy must be dead. It would be the only solution I could come up with.
And he would not even be paralyzed. The worst thing that happened to him is he lost the sight in his right eye. But all things considered, Ron is okay with that. The surgeons would tell Ron that the only reason he didn't die or get paralyzed is because when that drill bit went into his skull, it kind of pressed his brain aside as it passed through. Had it punctured his brain when it went through, that almost certainly would have killed him. But by some unbelievably slim chance, it did not, and he survived. Here is Ron's X-ray.
I am in legitimate shock on what I'm looking at.
Before we get into...
That was the most insane visual I have ever seen. That doesn't help. That actually doubled down on what I saw in my head, which doesn't help. I hate it. Oh my god.
The next story, I want to talk about today's sponsor. Ever since I started this channel, I have been shocked at the number of home invasion stories I've come across where the victims locked their doors and lived in a safe neighborhood. And so for this reason, I went out and got SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe is an incredibly effective and easy to use home security system. And honestly, for me, a big selling point was they don't send a company to your house to set it all up. I hate that. It's totally an inconvenience. And usually you don't even know how to use the system at the end of it. So instead, they send you this really neatly packaged small kit, and then using their very easy to navigate app, you build the system yourself. And so for reference, it took me less than an hour to do this, and everything worked first try. So it's very, very easy to use. Also, SimpliSafe will fit any home. It's fully customizable. They have all the cameras and sensors for every type of door and window, and they have lots of cool extra stuff like water sensors, temperature sensors, smart locks for doors, and they even have this really cool outdoor camera that has a massive field of vision. It's got 8x zoom, it's got night vision, and so basically at any hour...
Damn. That's actually pretty good. I don't need it at the moment. But that's actually a really good deal. That's actually really good.
Of the day, you can know what's going on outside and inside your home. And SimpliSafe professionally monitors your system all the time. So if anything were to happen, they would call the authorities. So if you want to feel safe, like
Is that just from America though? Is this just an American thing? I know there's some things that just is this just American?
me and my family, then go to simplisafe.com/Mr. Ballen. If you sign up with that link, you can get at least 30% off when you get your SimpliSafe system. All right, back to the stories. In 2009, 15-year-old Christina Grimmie finally caved and made her own YouTube channel. For years, her friends and family had been
No. No, I don't know. No, not this story. No, I know this name. I know this face. No, I've heard this name. I know this story. No. I don't want to hit. Oh no. This story breaks my heart every time. Because I've heard this story on like two other channels. I don't remember what they were, but I've heard this story before. No. I'll play it for you people. This story breaks my goddamn heart.
begging her to do this because Christina had this incredible singing voice that they wanted the world to hear. But Christina had always been hesitant because she was a bit of an introvert. But that year, Christina was feeling more outgoing, and so she took the plunge. She makes this channel, and in July of that year, she uploads her first two songs. They were both cover songs, and she was really proud of them, but when she uploaded them, they didn't get very many views. And so Christina probably was not very excited about making more videos. But a month later, she found herself really enjoying the song Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus.
That's actually a funny song. I don't know what it is about that song, but there's something about that song that I just find funny.
And so she was singing it all the time and humming it all the time. And so finally she said, okay, I'll just film myself covering that song. And so she records herself singing this song. She uploads it to her YouTube channel, her third video. And she thinks no one's going to see it because her first two videos no one really saw. But this video is different. It went viral almost immediately, and millions of people saw it, and they loved it. Christina couldn't believe it, even though her friends and family had been telling her all along, you have this great voice, you got to share it with the world. That's different than actually seeing the results of the world saying.
I'm about to say, because your no one ever takes, you never take your friend or your families at their word, right? If when it comes to like talents you have, because you just think they're being nice to you. Like no one's ever gonna tell you suck at what you do, right? So it's the world itself. The world has to tell you it. You have to see other validation. So that's what that was for Christina. It was. Is it Christina or Christine? Christina. Okay. But it's that was validation for her. That's what that was.
You're really great. We love your voice. And so she saw this huge opportunity and she began uploading more and more music to her channel, and more of her videos went viral.
God damn, 10 million views, 3.3 million. 5.3, 3.5, 3.7, 3.2, 8.4. I want these views. Give me these views, YouTube.
Over the next 4 years, she amassed over 2 million subscribers on her YouTube channel. She put out her own album, and she even went on tour with the mega celebrity pop star Selena Gomez.
I mean, that sounds like something Selena would do. Yep, that sounds like something Selena Gomez would do. She would hear someone do it a beautiful voice and hear a young girl with a beautiful voice and go, yeah, you're touring with me. That absolutely sounds like something she'd do. Yep. 100% believe Selena would do that.
2014, Christina auditioned for the TV singing competition called The Voice. This show only allows a very small number of contestants.
Is she the one that did what I think she did? Hold on. I want to look up her audition. I think I know what hers was. It was who I thought it was. Yeah, she's the one that did Wrecking Ball. She did Wrecking Ball as their cover. I would love to react to those stuff. I love directing stuff like The Voice and all that. The only reason I can't is because the cover and the way it's played, I'd still get copyrighted from like every freaking music thing that would be on it.
Who are all incredibly talented musicians. They get screened really aggressively before the competition even starts. But despite the very intense competition she was up against, Christina still managed to finish third overall in this competition. Now, she might have been a little bit let down that she didn't finish first, but that show did wonders for her career because the judges...
She was one of the most confident singers I've ever seen on The Voice. Legitimately one of the most confident. She had no fear in her voice at all. There was no worries, no nothing.
Of this competition were mega celebrity musicians, and every time Christina was on TV doing her performance for the competition, the judges would be raving about how talented she was, and that even if she doesn't win this competition, someone's going to sign her. She's so incredible. And then sure enough, shortly after that competition ended, Christina was signed to a major record label. But despite being considered a star by the masses, Christina still very much viewed herself as being a YouTuber first, which meant despite her mainstream...
That's actually something that shocked me, because most people, that's the thing, most like musicians, right, is their music, they're musicians, they're YouTubers till they get famous, and they stop being YouTubers. So suddenly they're just musicians, and they're touring, and they forget about the way they got popular in the first place, which is freaking YouTube.
Popularity and fame, she continued to upload songs and vlogs to her YouTube channel because she wanted to stay connected to her fans. YouTubers often upload videos that appear very amateur, like not professionally produced. It almost looks like anybody could have picked up their phone and filmed that video. And YouTubers tend to be very candid and show their personality in their videos. And so it makes YouTubers, especially these really popular ones, seem very real and raw and relatable.
Yep, that's usually most that's the truth. That's most YouTubers. YouTubers. That's the word. There's no S there. It's not use. It's YouTubers. Jesus Christ. I know English, me. Anyways, God damn. I just completely forgot what I was gonna say. Jesus. Oh, I remember now. I was great brain I got. Yeah, that's the thing with YouTubers, is they're more real. When musicians, most musicians, I don't know if there's some that are, but most musicians don't come off very real, if that makes sense. Like, I don't look at their lifestyle and go, like, they seem to just enjoy fame, and that's why they do what they do. Obviously, everyone enjoys fame in some way, but most musicians I feel aren't really organic, and I don't really believe they are how they act. That's not usually the case with YouTubers. Most of them you kind of believe. They kind of show you their real self, and it is why you subscribe to them. It's why you believe in them. It's why you support them. Because you wouldn't support someone you didn't believe in or you didn't like. Obviously.
Unlike traditional celebrities that are kind of outside of society, living in their mansions, living a totally elite and different lifestyle, YouTubers feel like they're your friends. And this was definitely the case with Christina.
You people are my friends. I don't have many actual friends. Like, that's straight truth. I don't have many. My friends are mainly you people. You're the Snyder Squad. That's for all of y'all.
On her videos, she came off as very humble and gracious and kind and friendly, and so her fans truly adored her. By June of 2016, Christina was still growing in popularity when she was asked to be the opening act for this concert in Orlando, Florida that was happening later that month. She agreed, and then on the day of the concert, which was June 10th, she posted to her social media this kind of shout out to all of her fans saying, "Hey, if you're in the Orlando, Florida area, come out to my show, and then after the show, I'm going to stick around and sign autographs and meet you guys." That night, the venue where this concert was happening was jam-packed, and most of the people were there for Christina, not the main act. And so Christina, she goes on stage, she has this incredible performance, the main act goes on stage, and then around 10 p.m., the concert ends, at which point Christina comes back out from behind stage and went right out into the crowd and began meeting her fans and hugging them and signing autographs and taking pictures. And then at 10:24 p.m., a man who was a fan of Christina's walked down from the back of the venue and kind of awkwardly gestured that he kind of wanted to get a hug. And Christina saw that, and so she smiled and she walked up to him. She opened her arms to give him a big hug. And when she got just a couple of feet away from him, he drew a pistol and he fired 4 shots into her head and into her body. Christina's brother, Mark, he was standing right nearby and he saw the attack. And so he tackled the shooter and he was trying.
The story breaks my heart every time I hear it. The last video, we were talking about a YouTuber and how a man was. The last video literally was about a YouTuber, and a man becomes obsessed with the YouTuber and believes they deserve a chance with that YouTuber, and they are in love with that YouTuber, even though like they have no communication except the YouTuber telling him to leave her alone. And how dangerous they can be if they don't fully get looked at and taken seriously by the justice system. Another example. This was a guy obsessed with a YouTuber. And when he realized he didn't get a chance, he's not going to get a chance with her, he decided that she no longer, if he couldn't have her, no one could.
To get control of this guy, but at some point the shooter managed to wriggle free, and then he stood up and he kind of walked backwards until he was literally up against this wall looking at the sea of people that are totally horrified. People are screaming and running and no one knows what he's going to do next, and then the shooter just raises the gun, puts it to his head, and pulls the trigger. There were people in the audience who were medically trained who rushed over to Christina and they began performing CPR on her, but there really wasn't anything anyone could do.
4 bullets right into her. She never stood a fucking chance.
She would die that night at the hospital. Her killer was a 27-year-old man named Kevin Loibel. He, like many people, had become a Christian.
Oh, you look like a piece of shit. No wonder you never thought you would have a chance with a single woman. No woman want to be near you. You're a complete piece of shit.
Christina superfan, but his infatuation with her became a totally unhealthy obsession. And when it eventually dawned on him that he most likely would never have a romantic relationship with Christina, he came to the conclusion that if I can't have her, no one can have her. And so
Messed up to think your mindset works that way. When your mind is at that level, that's when you know it's too far. If you even think this way for a second, please get fucking help. Please get fucking help, because this is too far. This is where you're too far. Where you're no longer a fan. You're a fucking obsessive, disgusting human.
when Christina put that post out on social media asking people to come to Orlando to see her show and meet her after the show, he took that as an opportunity to go kill her. And so he lived in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is 120 miles away. And so he sees this post on social media. He grabs his 2 pistols, some extra ammunition. He gets a large hunting knife, and then he calls a cab. The cab drives him 120 miles northeast to Orlando, Florida. And then he gets into the venue with his weaponry because there weren't metal detectors and no one was frisking people as they came inside. And so he was.
It might sound ridiculous, but I think every event, any type of concert, any type of anything should have that. You should be frisking, and you should maybe have metal detectors. Maybe that could be seen very 50-50. But at least you should frisk everyone. Should make sure no one has any weaponry, no one has anything that would make... So anyone who walks in here is safe and isn't in danger.
He was in the back of the venue during the show, and then when it was over, he kind of lingered back, allowing other fans to go up and, kind of mob Christina. And then when there was a lull and there were less people down there with her, he strode right down the aisle and he ended her life. Here is a photo of Kevin standing in the back of this venue just moments before the show came to an end.
It's insane to me, the thought that you will go to a place where your goal is to take a life. He watched the whole concert. It probably went hours. He took a life. He knew he was going to take a life. He never once second guessed himself. Never once had doubt. He probably convinced himself the whole time that he was doing what he should be doing. Like, that's insane. That's what's scary.
In 2019, 21-year-old Samantha Josephson was a senior at the University of South Carolina. She was a brilliant student who aspired to be a lawyer. Specifically, she wanted to practice international law. And so in order to do that, she needed to be able to speak other languages besides English. And so during her college years, she had really leaned into Spanish and become quite good at it rather quickly. During her college Spanish studies, one of her professors was a woman named Daniela Jaimes. Daniela very quickly recognized in Samantha that she had this incredible intellect and work ethic and just knew she was destined for greatness. In fact, she compared Samantha to Amal Clooney, who is George Clooney's wife and is considered to be one of the most famous international lawyers ever. And so just out of a general interest to see Samantha succeed, Daniela offered to Samantha to kind of be there for her if she needed anything beyond just Spanish, that she was there to help her with law school applications, or if she needed advice on something, or if she just had ideas she wanted to bounce off of her, she would be available. And Samantha had taken her up on this offer, and by 2019, in Samantha's senior year, the pair had become very close, forming a sort of mentor-mentee relationship. Early that year, Samantha got accepted into her target law school, Drexel University in Pennsylvania. And so after telling her mother and father, Samantha ran to Daniela's office to tell her mentor the great news. And the two hugged and laughed and celebrated right there in the office. It was clear that everything was falling into place for Samantha, and Daniela was just very, very proud of her. A few weeks later, on March 29th, Samantha decided to go out with her friends for some drinks. Now, Samantha normally spent a lot of her time studying, even on the weekends, but since she was about a month away from graduation and she was already accepted to law school and really didn't have that much work since it was the end of the year anyways, she decided she could cut loose for that weekend. So she, along with her friends, head out to this downtown area called Five Points, which is right near the University of South Carolina, and it's an area that's full of shops and restaurants and bars, so on the weekends it is packed with college students. Samantha and her friends hop from bar to bar, they're having a great time, and then around 2 a.m.
Am I a weirdo for not understanding why people go from one bar to another bar? Like, what's so different about one bar to another bar? Is your goal, if your goal is to hook up with people, okay, maybe. But if you're just hanging out with friends, why go from bar to bar to bar? Am I the only one that can't figure this one out? I've never been able to understand this thought process. Someone, if you've done this, if you go sell a drink and you go from one bar to another bar to another bar to another bar, can you explain to me why you do it? Because I've never been able to figure it out.
The group found themselves in a bar called Bird Dog, and while they were there, because it
Bird Dog, that sounds like a weird name for a bar. I've heard weirder, but that sounds like a weird name.
was so crowded, the group of friends got separated. Now, initially, the friends were trying to reconnect with each other through texts and phone calls, but they were just really struggling to locate each other. And kind of in the middle of all that, Samantha decided that she was just too tired and didn't really feel like staying out any longer. And so she texted her friends and let them know that she was going to head back to her room. So Samantha leaves the Bird Dog bar on her own. She hops in an Uber and she starts driving back towards her campus. Several hours later, after all of Samantha's friends had also finally gone home and then woke up that following morning, they realized Samantha was not in her room. And so they called her, she didn't pick up. They started asking around to other friends who might know where she was, but no one did. And so pretty quickly, Samantha's friends were very, very worried about her because the last they had seen her, she was leaving the bar on her own. And so they were really worried something might have happened to her. And so by 1:30 p.m. that day, on that Saturday, the day after they had gone out, they called the police and reported her missing. At the same time that Samantha was reported missing, there were these two men who were in their mid-20s that were located 70 miles to the east of the University of South.
I'm sorry, I'm on the bottom of my eyes. I still have tears coming down my face when it comes to the Christine story. My apologies.
South Carolina. They were out in this forest and they were hunting for turkeys. Earlier that day, these two men,
Yeah, you two look like bizarre, crazy hunters.
and whose names were Anders and Ryan, they had had no luck actually finding these birds. And so they were getting frustrated. And so by the afternoon, they had split up and were kind of combing this forest on their own to see if they would have more luck solo. And so Ryan, he posted up next to their truck, which was parked on this dirt road that was butted up against the edge of this big forest. And Ryan, with his binoculars, was scanning out across this field that butted up against the tree line of the forest. And he was kind of scanning the tree line, but he still was having no luck finding any turkeys. And then Anders, he actually had walked into that forest, which was right next to Ryan, and he was just kind of walking around looking for the birds as well, but he too was still having no luck. And so around 4:30 p.m., Anders, who's the one in the forest, he finally is just ready to admit defeat and leave empty-handed. And so he turns around and begins walking out of the forest in the direction of Ryan. And so at this point, he's maybe 100 or 200 feet away from Ryan, but the trees are very thick and they can't really see each other. And so Anders is just kind of walking in that direction. He's not looking for birds anymore, so he's not scouting around. He's just kind of looking straight ahead. And as he's walking, something catches his eye off to the left behind some trees. It was pretty far away, but he instinctively turned and looked, and he couldn't really tell what it was. It wasn't a turkey, but it wasn't anything that should have been in the forest. And so he decided he would go get a better look. And so he turned away from Ryan and went left and started cutting through the trees. And he kept walking until his view of this thing was no longer obscured by trees. And when he got a full look at this thing that had caught his attention, he stopped where he was. He yelled for Ryan, who couldn't see him, but he yelled for him to come into the woods and look at this. And as Ryan is running into the forest to see what's going on, Anders is pulling his phone out and calling the police. When the police finally show up, they find Anders and Ryan, and they're very shaken up, and they're sitting on the back of their truck on that dirt road where Ryan had been. And so the police pull up to them, they speak to them and get directions of how to get to what they saw inside of the forest. And then the police officers walk into the forest, they follow the directions, and before long, they're looking down at Samantha. 14 hours before her body was discovered, Samantha left the Bird Dog bar and walked out front where there's lots of other students, and she walked to this corner of this road right in front of her, and she hailed an Uber. And then the Uber car pulls up, she hops inside, and then the car backs up and drives away. Except that was not an Uber car. That was a car driven by a 24-year-old named Nathaniel Rowland, who was not an Uber driver. He was a guy who had been driving around 5 Points all night, presumably to try to trick people into getting into his vehicle, believing it was an Uber. And finally, his plan had worked. He had pulled in right in front of Samantha. She thought it was her car. She climbed in without question. And then once she
See, that's where see. This is where alcohol mess things up. But I don't even know, because she might have done this even if she wasn't. Don't ever get into an Uber, a cab, or anything unless you have confirmation on where they're going and what they're doing, where they're taking you. Ask them where they are going. Ask them if they're taking you to the right place. That way you know for sure that you'll get into the right car, because you never know who could be an Uber or who could be pretending, in this case, to be an Uber.
She was inside, she couldn't get out again because the doors were child locked. There was no way to open them unless they were opened from the outside. Now, initially, Samantha wouldn't have noticed this. She just sat in the back seat, the car backed up, it started driving, except it didn't drive towards her campus. It drove the opposite direction. And the drive from this bar to the campus was only a couple of minutes long. And so even if she wasn't really paying attention, she would have recognized fairly quickly they were going the wrong way, because again, she's expecting to get dropped off within a couple of minutes. Now, we don't know what actually happened inside that car in terms of how Samantha actually handled this realization that he was taking her the wrong way. We don't know if she confronted him. We don't know if she tried to open the door and then realized it was child locked. We just don't know. All we know is that Nathaniel drove Samantha to some isolated area, most likely 70 miles to the east, near that forested area where her body was found. And then once he parked wherever he was, Nathaniel pulled out a knife and then leapt into the back seat of his car where Samantha was trapped, and he stabbed her 120 times. And
120 times. Hear that. 120 times this man stabbed this woman. They have no connection. It's not emotional. It's just a guy doing this for the sake of doing this. Think of how evil you have to be to do it for that long. How many times you have to do that to get up for 120. That is absolutely insane. This man is pure evil. 100% pure evil.
And then after he was finished stabbing her, it would take Samantha over 10 minutes to finally die. Within hours of dumping her body in the forest, Nathaniel was posting these normal posts on Facebook of him in front of his car and regular status updates. And he was having very normal interactions with his family and his friends, as if he was completely unaffected by this horrible crime he had just.
Because he's evil. Evil people aren't affected by anything. Evil people just think they're all freaking fine and dandy. He just thinks he's great. He doesn't realize he's an evil bastard. They never do.
Committed. Nathaniel was arrested within 24 hours of the discovery of Samantha's body. While he never offered any motive for the crime, it's believed he simply decided that night he was going to go kill someone. And so he just began prowling around for a victim, and unfortunately, Samantha was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Nathaniel was ultimately convicted of her murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Here are the final images of Samantha.
Thank God he was sentenced to life in prison. He deserves it. Deserves to rot in prison for what he did.
As she climbs into Nathaniel's car. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments section what it is and where you found it. So give us the...
Ladies and gentlemen, this took an insane turn. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all for the next one.